What's up, comic book fans? Pete here from Comic Books Transformed, where me and my good friend Brian over there discuss comics that have been adapted into movies and streaming shows. Miracle of all miracles, Brian and I finally have something that was a comic and has been adapted into a streaming show to talk about.
Every once in a while we do that.
Yeah, every once in a while we do what we say the show was about. I'm trying to think, right? We've been doing Fallout. Prior to that, was it Star Wars Visions?
Yeah, Star Wars Visions before. No, we did something between there too. Maybe we had some. Was there a movie? No, there wasn't a movie.
No.
No idea.
We'll think about it. We're already starting with having a hard time to remember things, but we're talking about Wonder Man, which is the newest MCU show. It's a really interesting scenario, right? Because it's a show that I haven't seen anything negative on social media so far. I've seen a ton of praise of this show. I saw like full reviews of the entire season by like yesterday, and the show came out on Wednesday. No, wait, today's Thursday. I saw it this morning.
Yeah,
the show just came out on Wednesday.
Tuesday night came out. So
Tuesday. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Tuesday night. They dropped all 8 episodes. I feel like there's so many contradictions with this, Brian, where it's like they're excited about it. They're trying to bury it. The fans seem to think it's really awesome, but then it also seems like it's so like detached and removed from the MCU. Like, what have you been getting from the show on social media? What's the buzz that you've been seeing?
I've seen absolutely nothing about it. I have seen the critic reviews about it. I've seen people praise it, but I don't see a lot of fans talking about it. So I think this is kind of that case where maybe it's a critical darling that is kind of off the radar of people because they're just not interested in it. Superhero fatigue, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I'm trying to not make this episode be like really philosophical or abstract. I want to just kind of talk about the show itself and give it a fair review. But I would say that for me, I'm getting this weird feeling watching the show because here's the thing, guys. Me and Brian are going to cover like 2 episodes today. We may do 4 episodes next time and then the final 2 after that. We're not doing the whole show today. Watching it, it feels like there's the potential for like bigger comic book action stuff to happen, but then also it just feels like a show like Barry or something like that, where it's just all about acting, and that seems to be what it's all about. So I go back and forth between thinking like, is it wrong to stretch a story like this out for 8 episodes and that maybe there'll be some kind of exciting comic book payoff down the road? Or is it that we're supposed to like enjoy this sort of like character study? Like, how do you feel about the show just after watching 2 episodes?
So I feel that the formula they have here is actor study followed by some kind of end stinger leading to something larger, more superhero-like.
Okay.
I feel like this show is going to essentially follow that pattern here, and I think maybe by the end of it we'll see him in like a kind of Silver Age Wonder Man costume. That's probably the most recognizable costume of his, with the the black and the red MW.
Right. Okay. So here's the thing, right? If you just take these 2 episodes and you just talk about what happens in these 2 episodes, we could sum that up in like 2 or 3 sentences.
Probably.
And that's right. But I think what really needs to be discussed, especially on a channel that's called Comic Books Transformed, is I think that we should talk about like the significant difference between the Wonder Man character and this story.
Yes. So so you shared a fantastic summary of the character Wonder Man from another YouTube channel. Do you remember the name of it? Because I always forget it.
Oh, I love him. It's Sir Superhero. He does these like hour-long videos where he just explains in detail specific like Marvel things that not a lot of people know about.
Yes. So we watched that here. So that's a lot of the whatever I'm going to say today is probably because that video informed me there. I obviously do know who Wonder Man is. I've read comics with him in it before, but he hasn't been super prominent in the last 20 to 30 years.
Right.
Of comics, and they make a really Sir Superhero makes a really interesting point that his character arc has kind of like finished, which I found really interesting.
Yeah.
But essentially, the character starts off as does he start off as an actor?
No. So his origin, like how he gets to be the character that we all recognize, is very convoluted. Not to bore everybody, but basically, he's a businessman whose company is like a equivalent to Stark Industries, but because of that, like their company does real poorly. And what happens is he gets into organized crime because of his brother,
That's
who
right.
becomes a supervillain down the road, and he fails at business. He fails at being a criminal. Baron Zemo finds him and makes him into a supervillain. But the idea is that he's going to be a hero that's going to infiltrate the Avengers.
Yes.
And Baron Zemo, when he gives him these powers, he shoots him with these rays, and the rays do damage to his cells to where if he doesn't get like an antidote for it within a certain amount of days, he's going to die. And
he's going to die in a week.
Right.
Man, this just sounds like so evil. Like, the way that the panel they show is so casual, but it's like, oh, if you don't get this, you're going to be dead in a week.
Right. And that's the thing, right, is that people that watch this video, they might not really know Marvel stuff outside the MCU. And like Baron Zemo is a very different character in the MCU. He's the head of the Masters of Evil, which is like a supervillain equivalent to the Avengers. They have a lot of like villains that are like the arch enemies of the Avengers characters. And the Wonder Man has to go fight the Masters of Evil in his first appearance, and he defeats them and then joins the Avengers. And then instead of like carrying on the ruse, he decides to just succumb to this poisoning and he dies. And this is all within one fucking issue in like Avengers 9 in like 1963.
Yes.
You know?
And he doesn't show up again for a really long time.
He doesn't show up again, but he's sort of referenced. His brother is the Grim Reaper, who is an Avengers villain, and he hates the Avengers because of his brother's death. And then also they reveal in later issues that they've kept Simon Williams' body around and that they essentially used, or Ultron used, his brain waves to make Vision's brain.
Yes. Well, they analyzed his brain patterns to inform Vision's artificial brain. Yeah.
Right. And so Superhero makes this point to be like, he doesn't have the same, Vision doesn't have Simon Williams' memories. They're not even necessarily the same person, but like the model of Simon Williams' brain is the model for Vision's brain.
Yeah, which has got to be a really weird thing to like wake up to.
Right. And at one point, Vision gets destroyed utterly, and the Avengers are like, well, we can use Simon Williams' brain waves or whatever, his template to like rebuild Vision. He doesn't want to because he's got a thing for Wanda and stuff too.
Yeah, but I think that was an interesting point, and I really think there is some validity to kind of saying no in a situation like that, because that's a really weird thing to ask. It's like, hey, let me copy your brain again.
Yeah.
So this guy can be back to being, that thing that he was before.
Right.
That you had no knowledge of because you were kind of dead.
Right. I mean, as you guys can see, like this is so fucking convoluted, and this is going all the way back to the 60s. And I'm going to bring it all back, Brian. Just basically what happens is he eventually returns. We find out that he didn't die from a disease. Turns out that his cells were turning into ionic energy, which they call living energy. And that's essentially Wonder Man's power. And two things you need to know about the Wonder Man comic book character is that he really can't be like hurt or destroyed unless you disperse that energy. So you could shoot him with a gun. You can do whatever you want. It's not really going to hurt him. And then the other thing is, besides deciding to become an actor, he also is a pacifist. It doesn't really like attack people. He'll stand in the way of things and protect people, but he's not actively like violent against other people.
Yes. And then that's kind of where they get is that he was this kind of screw up of a character that was looking for this kind of purpose, and he sort of finds it in a way. And then nobody's really known what to do with him since, I guess.
Right. I mean, Brian, like, what's been your experience with the character just by your comic book history?
Probably Avengers Disassembled, maybe some 90s West Coast Avengers, Uncanny Avengers. He was on a couple rosters of. That's probably the most recent thing I read with him in there. And then he also makes an appearance in the Krakoa at the end of the Krakoa era of X-Men because when they bring back Beast as his kind of like earlier self, he goes back to find one of his friends that he can trust, Tom Williams.
Yeah,
he was an Avenger for a very long time.
Right, exactly. Like my experience is very similar to that. There's crossover between the X-Men and the Avengers in the 90s. There was this one story arc called Fatal Attractions, where you had like both Avengers teams, both X-Men teams kind of crossing over. I remember him from that. There might have been some Avengers stuff before Bendis took over, and then he was gone during the Bendis era. Then he came back with Uncanny Avengers, like you just said. But I always like the idea that he was a pacifist. He's kind of like that Beachcomber, right?
Beachcomber, yeah.
So I like the idea of like a superpowered person who's like, I'm not going to use my powers to like hit someone. I think that's really interesting.
It is interesting, yeah, especially someone that would be able to hit someone pretty hard.
Right. So how the fuck does this tie in with what we just watched?
It doesn't. So in the MCU, Wonder Man was initially introduced in as a deleted scene in Guardians 2, I believe.
Yeah.
I think it was intended for Nathan Fillion to be the character of Simon Williams, who was an actor in some other movie in that universe. But here they start off as that Wonder Man is a fictional superhero in a movie. He's a movie character.
Yeah.
And this, the main character, Simon Williams, sees this movie as a kid and is just infatuated, and it kind of directs his life to become an actor. So that's the shared DNA here, is that Simon Williams here, like his comic book counterpart, is an actor. But
yes,
that's kind of it.
Right.
Maybe he has some similar powers. We do. So as I mentioned, that this really feels like almost like slice of life actor study buddy not comedy, dramedy sort of thing between Simon Williams and Trevor Slattery, who is now, this is his third or fourth appearance in the Marvel project, which is kind of funny.
Yeah,
third, because it was in Shang-Chi. It's funny that we see Trevor again before we see Shang-Chi.
Yeah, it's kind of bad, honestly, but I'm pretty sure that this episode was directed by.
Yes.
It was directed by the guy that directed Shang-Chi. Yeah.
Yes. So that's very interesting too. So I think the end of the show here kind of shows that there is something going on that we don't know about yet. So Simon has some kind of power that kind of affects him when he gets anxious in some way, and some kind of energy builds up and kind of explodes out of him in a way. You do kind of see like a red coloring in his eyes at various points in these two episodes. And that's really all the DNA that seems to be shared between the comic version of the character and this TV version.
Yeah. I mean, like, we're mentioning Shang-Chi, and of course we mentioned Trevor Slattery. You're right. He was in, this is his fourth project, because there is a project where he's in prison and you're worried about something happening to him because he took on the name of the Mandarin, and they're revealing that there is a real Mandarin. We find out that there is a real Mandarin in Shang-Chi. He was in Iron Man 3. That's his first appearance. And now he's in this. The connective tissue is interesting because Andrew Guest is one of the showrunners. And he worked on 30 Rock. I thought you'd like this, Brian. He worked on Community. I know it's like one of your favorites.
Oh, yeah.
Suburgatory. I don't know what that is. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And then he was a producer on the Hawkeye show, and then he's a showrunner for this show.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then the person that like co-made the show with him is that Destin Daniel Cretton,
yes,
who is the guy that did Shang-Chi.
Yes.
And the upcoming Spider-Man movie too.
Yeah, that's right. You're right about that. Yeah. So the other thing that Trevor Slattery was in was a one-shot called "All Hail the King."
That's what I'm talking about. That's when he's in jail and like you find out there's a real Mandarin.
Yeah, so that was just a short that was released after Iron Man 3, I believe.
Yeah.
So that this would be his fourth appearance. Yeah.
Yeah. So like Daniel, I'm sorry, I keep fucking up his name. Destin Daniel Cretton. He was originally gonna direct the Kang Dynasty, and then they pivoted from that, and they made it, Doomsday. But Marvel obviously believes in this guy.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
I thought Shang-Chi was pretty good, I thought.
I like Shang-Chi. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, okay, so let's talk about how we feel about this show, right? Like, I happen to like. I'm gonna take a fucking jump at it, Brian. I'm gonna try to say his fucking name, but Yahya Abdul Mateen II. I've always liked him. I liked him when I saw him as the Black Panther. Jesus Christ, as Black Manta, right? And then I know I've seen him in other things too, and I've just always liked him when I saw that he was
Black
going to be
Mirror
signed.
episode.
Which one?
I want to say it's season 3, which where they play the video game characters, sort of. It's him and Falcon. Why can't
Anthony Mackie?
Anthony Mackie. They're like playing a video game, and then it's like a VR thing, and then they like their characters have sex in the game, and it's a whole weird thing. I thought he was fantastic in that episode.
He was very good, and then that had some MCU people in it too, because Anthony Mackie had Mantis.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't remember any names. It's horrible.
Tom Clementif.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, like, we're kind of dancing around talking about the actual story and what happens in the show, but there's obviously all this MCU connections. The clip that they show in the movie theater, it's kind of funny because they basically just have to show a clip like that. They have to be like, look, this Wonder Man movie existed. This is what this kid really liked growing up. And I'm watching it and I'm like, this is the flattest shit. Like, what kid would be into this? It's so melodramatic and bad. He's not like a badass in it or anything like that. He's like, so, as the kids would say, emo. And it's funny because, like, what he ends up saying, the Wonder Man character in the movie from 1980, he's just like saying fucking nonsense. He's like, the Braha people, blah, blah, blah. And the only interesting thing about that is he mentions the void. Do you think there's any connective tissue there whatsoever?
With the Sentry, that would be really interesting. Actually, I don't know. I didn't even consider that, but yeah, that would be an interesting kind of twist on it. They don't really go into what the void is all that much in Thunderbolts,
right?
So that would be interesting there. But yeah, it just seems like a kind of cheesy early '80s movie that he was infatuated with, which I think we can identify with, honestly.
Of course. But the main difference is the 80s movies that we're infatuated with are fun. This one, he's like,
there were a lot of movies like that in the late 70s, early 80s that just no one talks about or remember because they were that cheesy. There were things like that.
Yeah.
What is that movie with Burt Reynolds where he has like the crisscross thing and he just is bare. So yeah, something like that. That's the kind of vibe I got from that clip.
Okay. All right, so he's inspired by this Zardoz type movie, decides to become an actor. With these shows and in general, with Marvel, sometimes they don't give a character enough personality or enough unique qualities. With Simon Williams in the show, however, they give him this really great trait, this trait that kind of makes him different. It's like he reads into things so much. He goes to audition for these parts. He makes these extensive notes, and he's like creating these super elaborate backstories for the character he's going to portray. And I liked that because I felt like that was so different from other stuff that we've seen.
Yeah, I really identified with that. Like his kind of overachieving, but kind of failing through life, essentially. Because he's not really booking roles. His girlfriend leaves him in the beginning of the episode as well, and he literally gets cut from the role he auditioned for and got because he interfered with the director too much. He like pushed it a little too far. So yeah, so they did definitely give him a personality, and then he meets Trevor, who has this kind of almost opposing view to acting, where it's just like like the advice he gives him is just exhale all the oxygen from your lungs, and it'll put your body into shock and just go with that instinct. Where
Right.
it was the exact opposite of all the massive preparation and overthinking that Simon normally does.
Right. Right. I love the chemistry between the two of them. And Ben Kingsley is this kind of actor, just like Patrick Stewart, just like Ian McKellen, one of these British actors that they could just do anything. And they're just inherently entertaining, and you feel like there's depth to what they're saying.
Yeah.
It's just a given. And so Ben Kingsley doesn't necessarily say many profound things in these 2 episodes, but he's still just super enjoyable to watch. I happen to like that particular scene you said where he's like, just exhale and they'll just all be instinct. But then we find out that Trevor Slattery is actually working for a guy that's in damage control. I actually just looked him up, and he's played by Arian Moayed or Mayad, and he's playing a character called P. Cleary.
Yes, he's been in a few things before. He looks sort of familiar, although I didn't exactly remember what other things he's been in.
Yeah.
Oh, he was in No Way Home.
He is, because he's in damage control, and they've stuck damage control in a few different MCU things. He had a pretty big part in Marvel, Ms. Marvel.
Okay.
Like damage control played a big part in the end of Ms. Marvel, and he was in that. The actor, I recognize him from Succession. He's in that. The damage control, here's another thing, guys, is that damage control in this is kind of different from damage control in the comics. Like in the MCU, damage control is almost like a proactive thing where they're trying to not let like problems get bigger, or they're kind of keeping tabs on people. Whereas damage control in the comics is like the Avengers fight someone, there's tremendous property damage. Damage control comes in and like repairs things.
Yeah, I feel that like when they initially showed damage control in Spider-Man Homecoming, that was more in line, because damage control comes in and takes over for the Vulture's business.
Right. Exactly. Right. So, I mean, we do see things that have been building up in the MCU, and it does give that sense of like it's a lived-in universe. But I guess I just kind of need to see more from this show to see what's the part that everyone's raving about. I like that we're kind of almost abandoning any kind of plot threads, and we're not having random action scenes because they feel like we need to have action scenes. And I actually, honestly, I like the idea of Simon Williams as like a dangerous character. Like that, like they don't know what he's going to do. They're keeping tabs on him. And I like that, because I think that this actor really conveys that, where he's vulnerable and you relate to him, but he might be dangerous to himself and to others. Did you get that vibe?
Yes, I definitely get that vibe. And it's not even clear if he really even realizes what's going on with him. I mean, clearly he sees the results of what happens, because, he hangs that blanket over the wall and that crack in the wall in his apartment in the second episode. But we're not really sure, how he got this way in this universe so far.
Right.
I imagine it's not going to be via Baron Zemo.
No.
And I think the comic origin, isn't it the earlier Baron Zemo? It's not Helmut Zero. It's his like dad or something.
Probably, yes.
Powers. So it's. I mean, I'm almost wondering if they're going to say like he's a mutant and make some kind of weird retcon.
I could see that.
Given they already did that with Ms. Marvel, and then he also has that friendship in the comics with Beast, founding X-Men and Mutant. So I kind of wonder if they're sprinkling in mutants into this universe before Doomsday.
Right. And that's the elephant in the room. That's maybe what we should talk about, right? Before Doomsday, are the only things that we're getting before Doomsday is it this and then Spider-Man Brand New Day, or is it there's something else as well?
Daredevil as well.
No,
the movies. I don't know if we'll get. Isn't there going to be a Punisher special too? I think, but I don't know when that comes out. I feel
Okay.
like anything else we get is going to be either animated or one of those like special presentations. I don't think there are any other shows, unless this connects to Vision Quest. I think it's
Oh,
still a thing. I don't know what's up with Armor Wars. That would be the other maybe semi-related thing to this.
yeah.
But I know that was bouncing back and forth between being either being shelved or being a show or a movie. So,
Okay. Is Vision Quest coming out before Doomsday?
I don't know. I don't think it's been canceled, but I haven't really heard anything about it. But I mean, given the connective tissue between these characters and the fact that there's that white android Vision running around the world still from the end of WandaVision, I think it kind of makes sense that this could sort of lead into that in some capacity.
Okay. It says, I just looked it up. It says that filming has wrapped on Vision Quest, and it says the time frame placing it between MCU releases like Spider-Man Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday. So it's coming out in 2026. They don't have an official release date, but they're saying it would come out between Spider-Man and Doomsday.
Okay, yeah. Makes sense.
So, okay. So okay. Let me ask you this. Do you think that there's anybody behind the wheel right now that's saying, like, okay, these are all the Marvel things that have come out thus far in phases 4, 5, and 6. We're not in 6 yet. I think we're in 5 still. So this is what's come out in 4 and 5. Is there a person that's taking all of that and making it into something cohesive like Infinity War?
That is a great question, and I don't know the answer. I'm not even sure about the phases. I'm not convinced that this is still Phase 5. I want to say that Fantastic Four either started or ended it. Maybe Thunderbolts ended it, and Fantastic Four started the new phase. I feel like this may actually be Phase 6 now.
We are in Phase 6.
Okay. So I think that this is more of the remnants of Marvel Disney Plus's initial ideologies to kind of fill in release gaps with shows, and whether they're thinking about characters they haven't used and where they could fit somebody in and to fill some kind of a void, whether that means that they need this character for a future narrative purpose or there's just something like this could be unrelated and we don't need to come back to it ever again if it doesn't work, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of getting the feeling that that's what it is. So it may relate to Vision Quest in some way, but I don't think this is some part of a grand scheme involving Doomsday, unless Wanda comes back more prominently, maybe in Doomsday. Yeah. I don't believe she's actually dead from the Doctor Strange sequel. So
no, neither do I. Yeah. It sucks, man, because I feel like that's the best thing of the MCU is like everything kind of coming together and it seeming like it has like a point. I mean, that they hit that so perfectly with Infinity War and Endgame. And then it just seems like that hasn't been a priority for them. And I feel like that's how they get people to keep coming back, even people that don't really like comic books.
Yeah, well, I think they had the first was that's Infinity War ends. Well, no, Endgame is the end of the 3rd phase, right, or the 4th phase?
Yeah, no, 3rd phase.
I think that was such a unique event in cinema that will never be recreated again on this scale. And I do think that they really intended to fill in these release dates with lesser known characters that they thought they could turn any character into gold like they did with the initial Avengers characters. But I mean, remember, prior to those movies, these characters were in the public consciousness were like B tier at best.
Right, B tier at best. Right.
So Marvel did make something out of these characters with this movie. They elevated these characters in the public consciousness with these movies, and I think that maybe they thought they could continue to do that, with the original actors sort of phasing out, and it just didn't work, and they've been pivoting ever since. And especially with that whole change with Kang, and now this, the whole Doomsday thing and bringing back Robert Downey Jr. just kind of has that air of desperation where it's like, hey, we can still be relevant, come watch our stuff. And I think that's really what happened is that they thought they had the ability to turn anything into gold, and it didn't work. And they're trying to course correct there. And I think I still think that they may be able to do something moving forward after Doomsday, with being with the X-Men around. Because I'm very excited for anything X-Men. Now that they're kind of going in for these like more comic accurate costumes, they prove that they can work, and we're not just going to get like black leather.
Yep.
And and give me some good Cyclops stuff.
Oh yes. Yeah, I gotta admit, like I'm getting excited about Doomsday, even though when they like revealed that Robert Downey Jr. was Doom, I felt strange, and I was like, oh, this is a bad sign. But I don't know. I like a lot of people were saying that the trailers seem desperate. I actually agree that the trailers seem desperate, but I still have to admit that I'm excited. Like especially I rewatched Infinity War and Endgame recently. And I was like, oh, if they could capture something of this, then I think I'm going to really enjoy this in the theater.
Yeah, I think that they're definitely trying to recreate those kind of moments there. When you first see, in Avengers, when you first see Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor all in the same scene, things like that, and then that ridiculous battle in Endgame, and then that twist sort of with Spider-Man No Way Home with the different Spider-Mans and different universes, that will hit in a certain way. I don't know if it will hit in the same way as that any of those first three I mentioned will hit, because it's like, it's like power creep, and then eventually you just kind of like, oh, okay, this is, more toys in the sandbox sort of thing. But it's not anything new and exciting. Like, all superhero movies prior to the MCU, for the most part, were just standalone movies, standalone universes. Right. They had zero crossover with other things where their origins have, these characters interacting on a regular basis. So seeing those kind of things for the first time on that scale was incredible. And I just don't think I think the genie's out of the bottle here, and that's kind of it. It will still be exciting, to see the characters they have announced in there, and I'm sure they'll have something, to surprise and shock us in this movie that we're not thinking of. We talked about some crazy fantasy booking ideas, I think, in passing before, and we always kind of overestimate what they're capable of. But I'm still excited for those movies.
Yeah. Well, we have recorded for 32 minutes, and I think maybe like 4 of those 32 minutes we actually talked about this show versus everything else around it.
Yeah. So I will just end off here saying that I did actually really enjoy both these episodes. I do really like the chemistry between these two characters, and I do like that how they kind of keep bringing this mystery element back at the end of each episode. Where we find out that the first episode we found out that Trevor is working with damage control, spying on Simon, that he has some kind of power, and then the second, we just see him using the power. What was the stinger at the end of the second episode? I forgot.
The second episode, I mean, first of all, there's one funny thing about the second episode is they go to see Joe Pantoliano, and
so weird.
And like Simon Williams just like tells him off like completely. He's like, "Screw you, Joe Pantoliano."
Baby's Day Out was garbage.
Right. It's such a. I felt so weird watching that. I'm like, what the fuck am I even watching? But no, the way that episode ends, they're trying to record him reacting to lines that are being read to him, and so Ben Kingsley eventually helps him with that, and it's at his apartment. And Ben Kingsley's supposed to get like evidence to show that Simon Williams is dangerous.
Yeah.
And he's got that cracked wall from when he had an episode before. But that's pretty much it. It's like he's like, I'm gonna order some pizza, and then Ben Kingsley's like, pizza's good, and then that's the way the episode ends.
Yeah, but with that big hole in the wall in the background, kind of like, sitting there all over them. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I didn't have a lot of high expectations. I think I was pleasantly surprised here. I don't know how you felt, but hopefully it's similar.
Yeah, it was enjoyable. I honestly I want to watch like a block of 4 of them in a row just to kind of see where this is going, like what other comic book things are going to bring into it. But like I said, I really like both actors that are the main actors. So even if there isn't much to it, I don't know. I feel like I'm a sort of an MCU apologist where like I actually really liked Ironheart, for instance. I know a lot of people didn't like Ironheart. The ones that really bothered me were like Moon Knight, Secret Invasion, and Moon Knight was okay, but I love Moon Knight so much.
No, yeah, no, we needed more from Moon Knight. We really did.
Yeah, like Moon Knight, She-Hulk. These are things that like I enjoyed, but I mean, I actually didn't like Moon Knight or She-Hulk, but I did like, of course, love WandaVision, Agatha All Along. I'm thinking that maybe the next time we record, Brian, we should rank all the MCU shows. What do you think?
We can do that.
Sweet, sweet.
Oh no, should we wait until we finish this show, maybe?
Yeah. Let's do that, and then we have to do our best of 2025 as well at some point too.
Yeah, 2 months later.
There you go. Yeah, just like the Academy Awards. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Unless, did you have anything else?
That's a great little joke there.
What's that?
You're saying just like the Academy Awards, our best of the year ranking.
Right. Well, yeah, because they come out in like February usually. The Academy Awards. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for today. We really appreciate you guys. I usually do some kind of sexual pun, but my brain is fried. So make sure you like and subscribe, and we will see you guys and Simon Williams